beginning. You want to make sure that they get the pop. You want to make sure that they get that turf and move with it, you know?
One thing that I feel like doesn't get a lot of attention when it comes to Rainmaker specifically is like the weapon itself.
Yes.
Like the Rainmaker is like a pretty odd weapon, and no one ever highlights how useful it is. On a map like Mako Mart, like the fact that it's shooting in such a heavy arc and it has that radius of ordnance is super useful because of how like high a lot of the perches are on this map. The fact that you have to go around so much.
Ooh.
And we even have some weapons reflecting that style of play as we move into Game 1.
We got a double charger and a Tentabrella on the side of Superphoria, and a pretty standard comp, I would say, from Team Overrated Underdogs.
Yeah, being as this is winners finals of the pool, it's not surprising to see, meta picks, very standard, par for the course weapons chosen. And as far as the play is concerned also, the pop was pretty early on, but no one's grabbing that Rainmaker just yet. It's too dangerous. There's no ink ahead of them. And with some specials breaking, that might change, especially as we see... Are we going to see the double?
Oh,
No, we're not.
The hammer coming out. Reckon that ends out. And, wow, Superphoria, I believe? Not really wasting... Oh, no, not Superphoria. Overrated Underdogs, not wasting any time making that push. Oh, no!
But they're not going to be able to move it much longer.
Inopportune Stingray. Seemed like a little bit like a panic Stingray to me.
Yeah, panic specials are the worst on this type of a map because it throws off the rhythm of the rest of your team, and then you don't have that resource for when you get everyone together. This is a really important map mode combo to get yourself together with your team. If there was any situation for you to tell your team hey, we got to get ourselves ready for this, this is the one to show, because one little mistake can be vital to taking the map back, and that might actually be what we see here as Superphoria just nets it off of one little mistake.
Yeah, we see Superphoria popping off
with good reason.
I thought that was really clean. They really took the mistakes of Overrated Underdogs and they widened them a little bit and a little bit more until it was really just a free game for them.
It was, and
it's honestly hard to tell which team won because they both seem really good.
Everyone's pretty happy about that. On the real though, if I was on the receiving end of that kind of a beating, be yeah, that was a good play. There's nothing else you can really say about that. There was very little mistakes made.
Yeah.
But the ones that were fully exploited.
I think it's come full circle because there have been games where my team has lost, but we're laughing together because we like playing with each other, and people are we can't even tell who won because the other team looks completely despondent.
It's good because it makes sure that you have your spirits are high as you go into the next game. So you're you might have got rocked that game, but you're still in it. You still have the next games come into. And Clamblitz on Skipper Pavilion, if anything, at least from the last set that we saw with this game, it's going to be able to act as a bottleneck for all of that snowball.
For sure. I mean, we saw it before. You might want to decide to get those small pushes in. You might want to decide to have the really big push, and
right.
I think in this map in particular, both strategies kind of work, just because of how close the two baskets are.
Yeah, that's another thing we didn't get a chance to talk about earlier, but maybe it'll come into play with this particular game. There's not a lot of distance you got to cover when you're trying to go from, say, for instance, you're taking the Pity Clam, trying to use that as, your starter for your push. You just need one organized path cleaved forward by your team. It can be done with two players, but if you get everyone aligned, it can hit hard. We'll see what happens as we come into this game. And a couple of weapon changes.
See pretty similar comps. I'm really interested in as to why Superphoria is running two chargers in every map, and the Tentabrella obviously, but it's a very interesting comp that you don't really see much in competitive, and that's why they're running it, I guess.
Yeah, listen, if they're able to take their shots and make them count, it's going to work out really well. In the tight corridors that are Skipper Pavilion, there's not a lot of room to run, so I especially the Squiffer, if anything. Squiffer's super good for these close quarters kind of maps.
Right. I think it's worth mentioning that Leotos had the ball and could have pushed up, but decided to wait instead because it is much safer to jump in and throw the clam in rather than try to follow up with their teammates.
Oh, look at this push. This is crazy. 35 remaining. Oh, that's the initial push, too. It's going to be kind of hard for the opposing team to bounce back off this one.
But like we said before, I think Clan Blitz is not over until it's over, and I think it's the mode that really you could say that about, and it would have the most truth.
Yeah, it's super doable, especially like if the push is well coordinated. So we got the first break, and
Like,
this is a
look at
fantastic Booyah Bomb, especially with everyone alive still
Oof.
be able to push back the enemy team. But can they get enough clams in to really make it count? They're so close. No one else left alive to make this count. I think that's going to be that for this push, but they managed to organize themselves enough to like keep the point deficit really tight.
I think it's also, we want to notice that there is that penalty for both sides, but because Team Overrated Underdogs push just a little bit less, their penalty is a little bit less too, so maybe that might work to their advantage as well.
Yeah, it keeps things super volatile, and maybe not the safest way to play Clam Blitz, but it works out. Like, the math checks, especially if we see breaks like this. Everyone's dead.
Yeah,
That's it. There's your play.
I'm like, wait, oh.
It started so good. I was like, wow, is this going to be it? And then, like, no one else showed up.
Yeah, they got invited to the party, but it ended.
They got
before
too late.
Yeah.
It's like when you get to the party, the music's already ending. They're not serving drinks. When the lights come on is when you already know.
You know you gotta just go home. Just go home, man.
All right, another push coming in. We already see the break following immediately with the Booyah Bomb. And just like
there's
that
lead that we were talking about. We
Take
hear
it right back.
A few cheers from the crowd, cheering for Team Underrated Underdogs.
Everyone loves to pop off when you see a clapback like that. And now, this game that we're playing where like the deficits are being pushed back further and further is much more dangerous because we're getting closer and closer to just completely clearing out the amount of points needed to win the game. There's only so many times we can go back and forth in the remaining 2 minutes.
I don't know if they're going to be able to make... They did not make that push. Bitmapping the last one to go down, giving that a team wipe. That was a really good defense.
It was a really important wipe. Because like that could have been almost the game. But didn't see it happen just yet. Still got plenty of time. Minute and a half left on the clock. It's green team's time to see if they can sort of make this the final nail in the coffin. They have a lot of clams on the board. 3 power clams. They just need the one push. And, you know, the squid's alive to make the play happen.
It seems, I think around this time, it's really important to communicate with your teammates. Do I want to make the push? Do I want to defend? So I think it really, it seems like they're really trying their best.
This is a really messy team fight, but they're gonna.
That RNG was not kind.
This is kind of cool.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Time's burning now. Got to make something happen with this, but immediately jumping to their doom.
That was such a well-timed bomb. I can't even.
Like that was perfection. And look at that, waiting in the wings. This defense is insurmountable. Look at this.
You know, it's funny because we kind of saw this before for Overrated Underdogs. They made that comeback at the last second.
Yeah. And even though they had a little bit more time, they had to hold their lead. Like, it's working really, really well.
I think they're trying to make that. I think this is an interesting play. They sent one member of their team to the basket. Hopefully,
maybe with the intentions of jumping on them or trying to hold the area in case there's a push, but...
V almost getting that pick. If that pick was I think that
These
might
picks
be...
are everywhere.
It's hard to... Oh, man, that Booyah Bomb was dead.
These Booyah Bomb picks are phenomenal. 3 for 3 on making them really count in these massive plays.
I think this might be it.
And you would be right.
Wow, the 1-1 victory. Overrated Underdogs making that comeback a little bit, bringing us to a game 3.
All right. So now we're bringing ourselves to a classic combo. We got Splat Sounds on port.
spot zones on port.
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
We're gonna see some stingrays.
Like we thought we were gonna have them earlier, but to be honest with you, we didn't see too many of them.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Like we've seen a couple of map mode combos that facilitate stingray control, and there just hasn't been a lot of it. I feel like that's a credit to a lot of the special plays not being too well organized, or just like we've seen a lot of very pick-heavy games tonight. So
Yeah.
like there's just not enough time for those to really matter to lock away space. Port's so large that the Stingray's able to have influence despite like the battle not even breaking out yet. You're locking away areas to move, slowing down the match really, really well.
Yeah, I think that, I think it's also worth mentioning that I have no idea what that was.
It's green.
It's green.
Let's go green.
Nice. I also think that it's worth mentioning that, Stingray is a special where you have to kind of have that sixth sense to know where the enemies are going, and maybe perhaps that the members of each team maybe aren't the best at that. I know I'm awful at that. I refuse to play Stingray weapons, would rather play their unpopular counterparts.
Me personally, I'm not a fan of it myself. There's like, I'll begrudgingly pick into it if I need to support my team, but it's like, it's the necessary evil that's needed for like controlling certain maps. And Port Mackerel is definitely one of those maps that facilitates that, like, we must have a Stingray. If you really want to be able to push the map, or at least control the momentum of where the battle is moving.
Yeah, I feel like we're gonna see I hope we see a lot of aggressive play, because once you get that zone, you want to go into your enemy court. You want to push them back, because when you can push them back, that's when you control the zone for a long time, but also not let them back into the zone.
Yeah, it's really hard to come back if you get into that.
Yeah, this one is a killer sometimes.
It is. But nonetheless, we got our loadout, see what's changing. Couple of changes, but...
It seems very similar on both sides. On the team, on the side of Superphoria, we're running the double charger Tentebrella again, so that's, I think, an interesting comp. They're not going to get that much turf, I honestly think.
No, I would agree. It's difficult for maintaining the hit control. It's definitely like facilitates more of an aggro play as far as like, all right, we might not be able to control all this ground right away, but if you're not alive to contest it, then we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. Hey,
if it could work, it'll work out. But
like you said, if it will work out.
There's no one dead to tell you no, so and everyone's gone. And when you're pushed back this deep, it's so hard to push back because like your ground lanes are basically you can't go there. It's a dead zone.
And you have very little turf to build a special with, and Bitmap making it just out, barely missing those missiles and jumping right back into the action, not missing a beat.
I like that. Gotta keep up with the quick pace of the match. It's not the most fun, not the safest, but like, hey, if you gotta get yourself right into the thick of it, he's got that ultra stamp to use if need be, and it's gonna come out and immediately get a pick.
That pick was interesting because they were not even on the same level as Bitmap.
Yeah, that was a bit of like awkward hitbox shenanigans going on with the hammer itself.
Oh no, Missler. I think they are trying to use that last missiles to get the zone, and they did!
Look at it! That's so many penalty points on the zone right now. It's gonna be so hard for them to bounce back off of that.
It's never impossible though, so we just have to see if maybe they can play that aggression and utilize it to keep the zones.
Yeah, there's still a lot of time on the clock. 3 minutes is like a whole world to hurt in spot zones.
Yeah.
All right, we got plenty of specials breaking out in every which way.
Oh, and getting another pick with the missiles, giving that a 3-down situation, letting Overrated Underdogs push straight in and passing right through the zone into the court.
All right, with all of that control in their favor now, they just need to lock down Purpleton. It's just a matter of keep them in their court, keep them ahead of the zone, so we can start to break away at that 2 points. It's really, really dangerous if they manage to lose control of this.
This is, we talked a little bit about how we might see a shutout, but I feel like this is what we want to see in a Port Mackerel Spot Zones map. It is going back and forth. They're really trying their best to get those picks and make it out of that, lockout.
Definitely, like this is winners finals. If we're gonna see an even-handed match, this is where it's most anticipated to happen, and especially so when you see how well coordinated these teams are. Like they have a good idea of how to work around their weapons. They can clearly organize their special push as well, and they know how to take matches back from the defs.
And I thought the way that Overrated Underdogs played so patiently was really respectable.
Like that was a really good match to watch.
Yeah, definitely. And you see these teams are pretty evenly matched. They're all X ranked, so they're all at the top tier.
Yep. Like you see, like they're really aware of like what needs to get done, like at the higher end of competitive play, and just executing it really well. Like from both sides too. Like some good splat.
For sure.